Hello to our friends watching all over the world, wherever you may be watching, courtesy of YouTube, or if you're listening on the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast. As I said, a lot to do. Brian Twining is here to talk NASCAR, big race in Loudon, Joey Logano's resurgence. 2 races left until the chase. We'll get some thoughts with him on who he likes for this weekend. My conversation with David Aardsma. Earlier this week, we had a great chat about who should win the National League MVP. And it is a race right now between Pete Crow Armstrong and Shohei Ohtani. So we'll get into that coming up a little later on as well. Matt Verderame here from SI. My conversation with him about the top stories around the National Football League. We will get to that as well. But we start things out as we always do. It's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by the World Series of Golf.
Golf, poker, one champion, the World Series of Golf. Every shot is a bet. Every hole is a hand. Anyone can win. Play for a shot at $250K. Register today at WSG.golf.
It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about it next Monday on the show, in fact, with the CEO of Topgolf, who's going to be here, as well as the man who runs the World Series of Golf. Make sure and go check it out. Use my promo code SportsWrap and get yourself a sweet discount on the World Series of Golf. Check out one of the satellite locations in your area. All right, big story time, and let's talk about Fernando Mendoza making his debut for the Las Vegas Raiders last week. That went well. His second game as a professional football player, week 2 of the preseason, going up against a Houston Texans team that we know is good defensively, even though it was their second team defense. And you saw a little bit of the growing pains that you're going to go through with a guy that is a rookie quarterback playing in only his second preseason game. He throws the pick 6 there that everybody has seen, and it's been analyzed 17 ways to Sunday. And look, Chase Daniel, I thought, did a really good job of breaking this down and talking about the hitches that we saw from Fernando Mendoza. And I thought he played well. You know he can make the throws. That's the one thing. You know, you didn't have to watch a single minute of him last week or this week to know. Fernando Mendoza can make the throws. He's going to be able to make the plays. But what kind of growing pains are you going to be willing to understand and experience if you are a Raiders fan? If you are Clint Kubiak? If you're the Raiders brass? What are you going to be willing to accept and understand and be patient with? Because there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be mistakes in timing. I think the best thing they're going to do for Fernando Mendoza is let him sit. Let him watch Kirk Cousins. The kid is a sponge. He will absorb what he's watching. A lot of guys, they just can't sit. Their whole life, they've been the starter. From middle school to high school to college, they've been the guy. Every step of the way. They've been told how special they are. They've been told how wonderful they are. And their egos can't process sitting behind anybody. Even if it is Kirk Cousins, who's a guy who's been to plenty of Pro Bowls and has accomplished a lot of things in his career from a statistical standpoint. Fernando Mendoza is not that guy. If you watch Fernando Mendoza, the way he prepares, the way he speaks to the media, the kind of reverence he shows to the guys around him, sometimes maybe even a little too much reverence to the guys around him. You know that this guy, that guy, he's not going to have trouble sitting behind Kirk Cousins. Let Kirk Cousins take the lumps that this team is going to have to take over the first 6 or 7 weeks. We've talked about it. They have a brutal schedule to start 2026. Let them go through that. Let the realization set in that, hey, we're probably not a contender for much this year. Remember the division they play in. The Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, not necessarily in that order. I'm just rattling them off. And then the Raiders. You're not planning to do much this year. This is a process. And I know everybody hears process, they think of Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, but you do have to trust the process here. The Raiders made great strides in this offseason in starting to build a nucleus and put a team together around Fernando Mendoza. You want to see steps and growth this year with Fernando Mendoza, and he's going to get half a season probably to do that. But in the meantime, let him sit once the regular season starts. And barring injury to Kirk Cousins, let him get the experience of watching the pro game, being able to sort of dissect it from the sidelines. And he will. I think he's going to be fine. I don't know if he's going to be all world. I don't even know necessarily that he's going to be the best quarterback in this draft. Because I think, like Dan Orlovsky, I think Ty Simpson brings a lot to the table. But I do know he's got all the physical characteristics and the mental characteristics that you want in a franchise quarterback. Whether that translates to success on the field is a completely different subject, because there have been plenty of guys that have come out of the collegiate ranks that we thought had all these intangibles and then failed for whatever reason. Sometimes it's being drafted by the wrong team. And that is one of the things you have to consider when it comes to Fernando Mendoza. He is not being born on third base. This isn't Victor Wembanyama being drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, who are one of the most well-run franchises in sports. This is getting drafted to a team like Cleveland, or a team like the Raiders, or a team like the Jets. You're not starting on third base. You're barely getting out of the dugout. So I think from that perspective, his success may not necessarily be predicated on him alone. But I do wish the best for him, because he seems like a really nice guy. I don't know how 100% authentic it all is. You could all judge that for yourself. But I am rooting for the guy to succeed. And that's the big story. We're talking more football. Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated joins us next. This Tuesday edition of SportsWrap continues, and it does with some talk on the NFL. After I've had my say in the big story, for the first time this season, we welcome in Matt Verderame. Does a great job over at SI. Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Anywhere else I need to promote you?
Nah. I mean, there are other places, but that's fine. That's more than enough.
We could spend half the segment doing that. So let's talk about the most recent stuff and this story of Roger Goodell coming out and talking about the NFL eventually having teams outside the United States. Is there anything, I was thinking about this morning sitting in bed, is there anything the NFL could do that just goes too far, that it pushes fans away? Because it feels like, to me, it feels like there's nothing this league can do. There's nothing that could happen that will ultimately push fans away to the degree that it would cause them to change course, whether it's too many games,
right.
What is it?
It's a good question. I don't know that it would push fans away, but I do think that they are getting dangerously thin with their Sunday slate of games. I remember last year having many conversations with people who cover the league, not in the league, who cover it, with the idea that these Sunday slates stink. Like, you're sitting here, and it used to be, not sound like the old man screaming in a cloud, but it used to be, okay, look, you're going to have every game on Sunday except for Monday Night Football, and you're going to have Sunday Night Football, so let's even exclude that. So you have 14 games that are on Sunday afternoon. I mean, unless you had a really, really strange thing happen, you're going to have 3-4 games that are really good, that people want to watch, you're excited about. Like, when I was a kid, the Cowboys and Niners playing each other in the 90s, the game was on Sunday afternoon, always. That was the best game. Now, the best games are Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, They'll throw a good international game at you at 8:30 in the morning if you're out in if you're out in the Midwest. The first week of the season, there's Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Like, at some point, it does just get to be where you're like, well, why am I paying for Sunday ticket? For what? To watch the Falcons play the Cardinals? There just does get to a juncture where I think fans are going to be turned off by that. And that being said, I don't know that would make fans stop watching. I think it'll piss fans off. I think it might hurt Sunday ticket sales. But yeah, man, look, football has gotten to a point that if they played all their games at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, I think they would still draw 20 million people a game watching it.
It's amazing. Sort of, it says a lot about our addiction to football, for better or for worse. The great arms race going out there in the NFC West. You have the Rams doing what they did in the offseason, saying, screw all the draft picks. We're about winning now. We're about winning a Super Bowl. And it feels like in the last couple of weeks, the Seahawks have woken up and said, oh, we're going to get lapped here if we don't go and make some upgrades ourselves. So now they've sort of countered with a couple of moves of their own. When we get to the start of the season and you have a Rams team that's, resting guys and basically going to flip the switch come week one, versus this Seahawks team that won a Super Bowl just a year ago, less than a year ago, obviously. When you stack these two rosters side by side, just purely rosters, and I get games aren't played on paper, what does Matt Verderame see?
I think the Rams are a significantly better team. I think the Rams are the best team in football. I don't think they're impossible to beat. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. But look, the Rams are better at almost every position on the field at this point. Like, where are the Rams not better than the Seahawks? I don't know. They're better quarterback, they're better running back, they're better receiver. You want to talk about the offensive line? Maybe Seattle's got them in the offensive line. I could hear that. The Rams are better tight end. They have a better pass rush. You just added Myles Garrett. They're better at corner. Just better. They're better all over the place. Now, and it's not like the Rams don't have a good coach. The Rams have an excellent coach, maybe the best coach. So, look, the argument against the Rams is Stafford is almost 40 years old. The offensive line is probably the one spot that you look at and go, that could be a recipe for disaster in a playoff game. That is somebody's in. That is the way that in January the Rams lose, because some team comes in there which they don't have any home field advantage. So any team that goes in there might have home field advantage over the Rams, noise-wise. And a team goes in there like the Eagles and just says, we can put Stafford on his ass a dozen times. That's how we're going to win the game. That's what we're going to do. The other answer is that receiver room is ultra thin behind Nakua and Adams is no young pup, and Nakua has had a very, let's call it, challenging offseason. Okay? If Nakua gets hurt or Adams gets hurt or becomes ineffective, all of a sudden they become a lot easier to defend. So I don't think there's some guaranteed team.
They're not inevitable. They're not inevitable.
They're not. Like, I lived through some of those Patriots teams where you looked at them and just went, good luck, man. I mean, I don't know. Even some of the recent Chiefs teams where you looked at them and just said, if that team's healthy, they're winning 15 games going to the Super Bowl. Like, I don't feel like that about the Rams. But I do think they're the deserved, clear favorite going into the season.
In the last 90 seconds of this segment, we're holding you over for one more. Does that division get 3 playoff teams?
It should, but my guess is no, because they think they're going to beat each other up. And speaking of being beat up, the Niners are already at a point where they have about 3,000 injuries, which is kind of what they do. They just have injuries every year, whether it's a substation or not. I don't know. They're just hurt constantly. The whole team's hurt. McCaffrey isn't practicing. Evans has already been beat up. He was beat up last year. He's in his 30s. Kittle's coming off the Achilles. He's hurt all the time. Like, Bosa's hurt. I can see a world where the Niners are really talented but go like 7-10 because they're just constantly hurt. So I'll say 2 teams, but in a perfect world, everybody's healthy and everything else. Yeah, I mean, they should get 3, but I'll say they get 2.
All right. In the last 20 seconds, how many weeks before Carson Beck is starting in Arizona?
God, I mean, that's a question I haven't been asked yet. 8.
All right.
8.
We'll set the over-under at 7.5.
They'll play him because why not? But I got to tell you, if your answer to this season is like, hey, Carson Beck, it's probably not going to go well.
All right. We got more to do with our friend Matt Verderame. Does a great job over at SI, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. I've always found when a guest says, well, there's a question nobody's asked me, it means they hated the question. And I think Matt Verderame just gave me one of those.
I actually enjoyed it in the sense, like, I feel like whenever I go on the radio or TV, I get asked the same dozen questions about the season. And I appreciate that you were thinking about Arizona Cardinals fans. And
we're on in Phoenix, man. They love us down there in Phoenix. Arizona Family Sports.
I appreciate a question that's not just like, so, who's under the most pressure this year? Like, which is fine. It's a fair question, but it's a question I get every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know the answer to that. It's Sean McVay, of course. But are you going to give me somebody else? You can be Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas because of all the upgrades they made on the defensive side of the ball. Now you just asked the question. I will make you answer it.
I mean, my answer is always the same thing. I think it's either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I think it's, and I've said that answer for 3 years now. I mean, it's, hey man, you gonna win anything? Like, we live in this weird world that our brethren in the media love to just turn Josh Allen into the greatest quarterback that's ever played the sport. He's not. He's a great player. He's currently Warren Moon or Dan Fouts.
I was going to say, is he this generation's version of Dan Marino, I would have said.
No, to me, he's not. Like, Dan Marino threw for 5,000 yards in 1984. He had 48 touchdowns. Dan Marino put up numbers we'd never seen before. Josh Allen hasn't done that. Josh Allen is not the great statistical quarterback of this era. It's Mahomes. And Mahomes also has won nonstop, which Allen has done none of. Like, Allen's a great player. He's won nothing. He's won nothing. Forget even a Super Bowl. He's never gotten a Super Bowl. He's got the 2 AFC title games. Everybody talks about Lamar Jackson being a big choker. Lamar Jackson's gone to 1. So Allen's gone to 1 more than him. Allen is now on his second head coach, as is Lamar. Allen has been surrounded by some pretty damn good players throughout the course of his career. Number 1 defenses, all-pro receivers, good tight end rooms, great offensive lines, a rushing champion. You ever going to win? You're going to do, I mean, because otherwise, to me, you are the Warren Moon, the Sonny Jurgensen, who, listen, those guys are in the Hall of Fame. They're great players. But I got to tell you, if you and I sat down in a conversation with the greatest quarterbacks of all time, it'd take a long damn time to get to Sonny Jurgensen. You know what I mean? Like, it just would. It wouldn't take a while to get to Brady. It wouldn't take a while to get to Montana or Mahomes. It would take a long time to get to the Sonny Jurgensens of the world, the Bob Waterfields of the world. That's where Josh Allen's sitting. So if you don't win something, like, is that ever going to change?
Are you buying into the hype on the Cowboys? Because I am, given what they've done defensively to this team. If you believe, that Dak Prescott could put together back-to-back good seasons and not have one season where he's hurt, one season where he's ineffective, one season where he's great, and then, sort of revolve those around, are you buying into Dallas, and to what level are you buying in on Dallas?
I am buying into Dallas, which scares the hell out of me. Because
I am too, though.
Look, the Cowboys' offense might be the best offense in the NFL. There's not a weak spot. They're really good to great everywhere. Defensively, you add a couple of first-round picks. I loved Caleb Downs coming out, so I'm super high on him. You get Rashawn Gary in the building. Now you lose a Digazua, who you traded to the Niners, which is good for the Niners because he might be the last man standing at the rate that thing's going. They bring in Christian Parker to replace Eberflus at DC. Mm-hmm. And that division's not that good. Like, I think the Giants are improved, but, listen, I think it probably takes a couple of years for them where they really want to be. Tunzel getting hurt for the Commanders is a killer. And I like the Eagles in a sense. I know what I'm getting infrastructure-wise with them. I also think the Eagles at this point are like maybe a 10-win team. Like I don't love that team as much as I did. I like them. So I am buying the Cowboys. I think they're going to win the division. I think this ceiling's probably somewhere they haven't been in 30 years, which is the NFC title game. I still have a hard time, even with the improvements defensively, thinking that team's going to win 3 playoff games in a row. It's kind of how I feel about the Bengals. It's like, are the Bengals really going to run the table with that defense in the AFC? Like, probably not. But I think Dallas could win a playoff game or 2, which is something I haven't felt about the Cowboys in a long time.
How much is the league cringing when it sees Jackson Dart criticizing the blue tent?
Cringing. Look, if that was one of the big time quarterbacks in the league, probably more so. I will say this: it's got to be one of the least aware things a human being's ever said at an NFL podium, right? Like, this is the 6th time he's been a 10 being evaluated for a concussion, and he's standing up there essentially saying, "I just don't understand what the problem is." It's like, well, Jackson, the problem's you, buddy. Like, you can't stop getting just crushed. Now, to be fair on this one, this wasn't his fault. They just didn't block somebody. Yeah, just creamed.
Yeah, Tracy.
But, yeah. I mean, Tracy's got to slide over and he gets just destroyed. I mean, that's not on Jackson Dart. But Jackson Dart's saying something that you're looking at him in the moment thinking, like, are you, like, fully coherent to say that? Like, what? That was a little bit of sad irony there. But, yeah, look, I think it's something that, whether he likes it or not, he's going to be in that tent a decent amount if he keeps playing the way he's playing. I mean, if he continues to play with reckless abandon, he is going to be evaluated. This isn't the 90s where some guy would just get absolutely unloaded on and then be like, yeah, it's okay. Like, they're going to check you.
On the Baker Mayfield front in Tampa, how sort of acrimonious has this become, and how much does it threaten to sort of bleed into the season and what that team hopes to accomplish?
Yeah, I saw them a week ago, and listen, I mean, it's kind of hard to judge the acrimony at a practice or anything else, but I mean, my understanding of it is, listen, I mean, he's pissed, which, okay, I mean, he has, I guess, a right to be pissed. I don't know why he's that pissed off, though, quite honestly. They gave him a contract and nobody else would a few years ago. He stunk last year. They went 8-9, and they went 3-8 in their last 11 games, and he threw 14 touchdowns and 10 picks over that stretch. He was horrendous. Like, they fell apart. He fell apart. He's 32 years old. I mean, they didn't win the NFC South last year. You know how hard that is to not win that division? And they managed not to do it. It could bleed into the season. And listen, they lost Evans. Ibuka's already hurt. He's dealing with the toe injury. I think that if he doesn't have a good year, he's gone. And frankly, if I'm the Bucs, I don't blame Jason. I think they did the smart thing not signing him, because if he does play well, okay, you can tag him and then either just leave him on a tag or sign him. And if he doesn't play well, then you can move on and go into this generational quarterback class, go get somebody. Because if he doesn't play well and you extended him, now you're screwed.
Right.
Now you can't go get one of these quarterbacks. You still have him. The team's falling apart. I think the Buccaneers, quite honestly, are one of these teams. They need a youth movement in the worst way. Not in Pittsburgh. Go of them.
Matt Verderame, SI, also the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Couple more questions for him on YouTube. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show. Earlier this week, I had a chance to talk about the National League MVP race. Ohtani, PCA. My man David Aardsma was here, former big league reliever and closer. SportsWrap goes inside baseball every Wednesday on the show. So, David Aardsma, I want to get your thoughts. PCA or Ohtani? Who's it going to be? David Aardsma is here, former big league reliever and closer. SportsWrap goes inside baseball. MVP race in the National League. Who would have thought it'd be August 19th and we'd be talking about a possibility of somebody other than Shohei Ohtani winning the MVP award. Pete Crow Armstrong, now the favorite to win the MVP, David Aardsma. He's minus 165, Shohei Ohtani plus 140. That is still very close. Sam Yarnell seems to think Ohtani will still win it because he's going to come back and pitch a little bit. I think that could go the other way, though. If he doesn't pitch particularly well, it could hurt his MVP argument. Who do you have winning the MVP in the National League, David Aardsma?
So one of the fun things about this is the records of the teams are so similar.
Yeah.
Right? 76 and 51, 74 and 53, incredibly similar. The Dodgers, obviously the big difference there is the Dodgers just have superstars left and right. Well, I mean, every single player on that team is basically an all-star at some point in their careers, or an MVP or a Cy Young winner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Cubs are a completely different team, right? You go up and down that lineup. They've slow build that team over time. They lost their best player in the offseason in Kyle Tucker, he was currently a Dodger, and we just talked about with his struggles in Dodger land, and that's a whole nother conversation about his struggles. And then you get to PCA and Ohtani. Okay, the two kind of guys that have just been getting the job done in both places. Where I give my hat to in this ring right now is PCA. I think offensively, he has a little bit of an edge right now in some of the stats, some of the secondary stats like OPS plus, stuff like that. Ohtani has an edge. But when we're talking about an edge here, we're talking about like a razor's thin edge. Like either way, no matter what. WAR, PCA has one more WAR, but I don't want to even get into that. More games, but more plate appearances, more hits, all that stuff. But Ohtani has less games, but he has slightly better stats. Okay, stats are pretty much the same. So now we got to break it down to pitching and defense. Pitching, Cy Young caliber, but pitched 80 innings and has been hurt. And if he comes back, we don't even know what we're going to get. Might be the opener or might be a closer. We don't even know, and he just threw a bullpen, so it's going to be late September regardless. They're looking for October. And then you get PCA, who's the best defender right now in baseball, best center fielder, and the biggest moment maker. That's the thing to me. The moments. Every time the Cubs has their back against the wall, he's the guy coming through. He's the Aaron Judge coming through in these moments. He's the Cal Raleigh coming through in these moments. So these are the things. It's not best player. It's not best two-way player. It's not best pitcher and hitter and greatest player of all time. It's not unicorn award. It is who is the most valuable. And the valuable right now, to me, if you don't have PCA on this Cubs team, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like this team would be third, fourth in the division. We wouldn't be talking about them. The Dodgers have Shohei, and you know what? But like without him, they still have 17 other superstars that can get the job done. And even like Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker was best player on the Cubs last year. And now he's sitting there and they have a 0 batting average, and the Dodgers are doing just fine. This brings me to the Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge conversation from last year. Most valuable. Look what the Mariners are doing without Cal Raleigh's input. Look what they're doing. They're falling apart. We're talking about them firing everybody and having a complete regime change and what is wrong with the Mariners. And the Yankees are above 500 without Aaron Judge. They're above 500 without Aaron Judge.
They've got the best rotation in baseball, David.
He had one of the best seasons in baseball history. And they are above 500 without him. And the Mariners are a complete shambles.
Oh, you wanted to use another SH word. You wanted to use a different SH word, didn't you?
They're in shambles.
Yeah, you wanted to use a different SH word.
But that's the thing is when you lose, that's what Cal Raleigh meant to that team. That is value. That is most valuable. And people look at the stats and go, "Oh, greatest season ever." Without him, they would have been still made the playoffs. Without Cal Raleigh, the Mariners are irrelevant. They're a walkthrough.
I do often say, you oftentimes find out what an MVP is, not when they're on the field, but when they're off the field. Or in the case of somebody like Cal Raleigh, he might as well be off the field because he's been so bad this year. But you can't boil it down to just that one thing. If you're dependent on that one guy, then something's wrong with your roster, David. If you were simply dependent on Cal Raleigh having another year like he did last year, which you knew he wasn't going to repeat, if you were dependent on that, then something's wrong in the chemistry and the build of this roster.
Without a doubt. And there's something wrong with the chemistry and the buildup of this roster. There has been. I said it last year before the season started. Said it the year before. Said it throughout the year. You had everything come perfectly together. But this team, I'm going to say it, I'm going to scream it from the rooftops. There is a problem with T-Mobile Ballpark, with the backdrop, and they don't do anything. And there's been studies that show you the backdrop is the only backdrop in baseball like that. And you cannot hit the baseball there. And their pitching is so good because of the ballpark. I'm sorry. The best pitching in baseball in that ballpark, and they're average when they're not in that ballpark. Really good hitting when they're not at that ballpark, and the worst in baseball when they're at that ballpark. Change the ballpark. Change something about it. 2, that offense is so mediocre and so up and down. They really don't have any guys that just get the job done every day in and out. 2, 3, Julio Rodriguez is also having a down year, but is still not as down as what Cal Raleigh is. To me, Cal Raleigh is just it's the lifeblood of that team.
And it's a shame because the Rosarena's had a nice bounce-back season for them as well. David Aardsma does a great job. Sirius XM MLB Radio, Inside Baseball. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. We'll wrap it up with some odds and ends 10 minutes from now. Brian Twining does a terrific job for us every Friday on the show. He's the last man standing officially, by the way.
I like to have that moniker.
There it is. Jerry Bonkowski and Tino are no longer on the show for scheduling reasons and things like that. So Brian Twining is here, ladies and gentlemen, to talk NASCAR. And if Brian bails, there will be no more NASCAR on the show. I will say we are done talking about NASCAR on the show.
And we don't want that to happen.
We don't.
NASCAR already has a difficult time reaching the general public.
Yeah, absolutely. So they should spend money with us. Let's talk about what NASCAR, just a few weeks left here until we get to the playoffs, the chase.
Yep. The chase.
The chase. Don't call it the playoffs, Jason. You sound like you don't talk about NASCAR for a living. If you don't call it the chase. I'm feeling particularly obnoxious today. So
that's okay.
So let's talk about, first of all, Joey Logano couldn't win for love of money, and then he goes and wins at North Wilkesboro, and then he goes and wins at Richmond. And now all of a sudden we're talking about Joey Logano again. He's all but clinched a playoff spot. I think he's in 9th. I think the top 7 so far have clinched a spot in the chase. What do you attribute this run by Joey Logano that we've seen here over the last month?
Horses for courses. Joey is one of the best, if not the best, at these shorter flat tracks, which is North Wilkesboro and Richmond. So to see him compete at both of those places was not a shock. It's a little bit of a dagger to my heart, being somebody that has faded Joey all season. But I do think that as we get into the chase, you're going to see the true performance capabilities of Penske and the 22, where they've struggled on 1.5s, they've struggled on all intermediates, and we're not going to be having all of these short flat tracks in the chase.
Okay, so then you're telling me, even though he's going to probably make the playoffs,
yes,
the chase, you don't like his chances in the chase based on the track layouts. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I mean, we have a 3-race stretch in the chase that goes from Kansas, Las Vegas, Charlotte, all tracks where Penske has struggled mightily. And I mean, if Brian Blaney's struggling there, the other 2 guys are struggling when Blaney is known as the fastest guy. So it's going to be difficult for Logano to compete for a championship again, because there is no more win in advance type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at the playoff standings right now. And I said the top 7 basically right now have already clinched spots. That's Hamlin, Blaney, Gibbs, Reddick, Briscoe, Elliott, and Bell. Kyle Larson's just outside that number. He's going to get in. Joey Logano is at 9th, as I mentioned. Start looking at the cut line.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba Wallace dangerously close to that cut line. He's 14th. 382, he's 382 out of first, but he's only 20 points inside the cut line, something like that. Ryan Preece is on the outside looking in right now. He's the first man out. Shane Van Gisbergen is the cut line right now at number 16. Who, when you look at this race this week, we could talk about the favorites and we'll get to the odds and all that in a second. When you talk about this race at Loudon this week, from the guys that are near that cut line that need a good showing right now, who's the one you're most concerned about?
It would probably be Shane Van Gisbergen. It's just with us going to Daytona next week to close out the regular season, there is a danger that if you have a problem here, you DNF, then you're going to be put at risk of having to be extremely safe next weekend in the final race of the regular season. But for the most part, I would say that both Bubba Wallace and Austin Cindric and Shane Van Gisbergen, barring a catastrophe, are pretty safe. Again, barring them having a terminal issue with their car this week and then wrecking at Daytona, it's going to be really difficult for Ryan Preece, who is 50 points behind Shane for the final spot, to jump them.
So you need a combination of a DNF and Preece having a good showing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is what he needs so basically this week, Preece needs a DNF from somebody like Shane Van Gisbergen or even Austin Cindric, and he needs to have a great showing. And then next week, he's still going to have a great week and be better than those guys.
Yeah, and I will say though, there should be some worry from those guys because RFK has been awesome at the drafting track. So it's not done. If Preece will have a chance next week in Daytona, but as long as those guys go out, do okay, they should be good.
But it is Daytona, and crazy things can happen, as we've often seen. Ryan Blaney is the favorite to win this week in the last 90 seconds. He's at plus 400. He won here last year, that being Loudon. Christopher Bell also at 4-1 over on FanDuel. Denny Hamlin at plus 550, and then Joey Logano also at plus 550. All right, tell me who you like in the last minute.
Christopher Bell, bridesmaid so many times this year. He dominates New Hampshire. Last year they struggled. Toyota as a whole struggled, but New Hampshire is Christopher Bell's track. So I expect to see him get back onto the horse. And don't count out Tyler Reddick, who has performed well here. He has a great qualifying position. He should qualify near the front. And that team is looking for something to kind of get their season back on track.
Anybody further down the list that you like in terms of underdogs that could make some noise?
I like Ryan Preece being a New England guy. I don't know if they got the speed to do it, but he should be on the correct strategy to try to get to the front here.
He's a Connecticut guy, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's a Connecticut guy from some of the research that I've done. Yes, I do research. All right, so Brian Twining giving us his picks for this week. Check him out over on Bleacher Nation. He does a terrific job covering NASCAR and covering just about everything else because he is a man of all seasons. Brian, always appreciate you, my man. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the race.
All right, you as well.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday and another week in the books. Don't forget, some reminders for you. We got SportsWrap weekends. Monday through Friday, we've got this 1-hour extravaganza. But on the weekends, we have a 30-minute recap show. Everything we talked about from throughout the week and sometimes a little bit more. It could be on this same affiliate. Check your local listings for time and schedule. If it's not on this station, check around your market. Could be on a different station, sometimes a sister station. So go and check that out. We've got the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the Monday through Friday version of the show in its audio form. That is available wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. We encourage you to do so. The podcast available Monday through Friday. We've also got the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place to find all things video associated with this show, beginning with the Monday through Friday TV version of the show. All the commercials stripped out of it. 45 minutes waiting there for you every afternoon over on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. We've got Sports Wrap Originals, Extended Conversations, Sports Wrap Shorts. We did one last night, as a matter of fact, after Fernando Mendoza's second preseason game. Something big happens, big news. Whenever we got some time, we're jumping in on the YouTube channel with Sports Wrap Shorts. Sports Wrap Shorts available there. Also, the Sports Wrap website, sportswrap.tv. This is the place for all the aforementioned stuff we just talked about. The podcast, you can go and subscribe to that, listen to it on the website, sportswrap.tv. Also available there, some of the YouTube some of the YouTube content that I was just talking about. The YouTube content available there as well. The Substack, our Monday through Friday daily newsletter, the Daily Wrap, is available there. Go and subscribe. It's free. Go right there. SportsWrap.tv has it. You can send us your comments, your criticisms, your love, your hate. We don't care. We take it all there at SportsWrap.tv. And without any further delay on this Friday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, and boy, oh boy, a big blow to the U.S. Open, the final major of the tennis season, because Jannik Sinner won't be there. Dealing with a knee injury. He hasn't really played since Wimbledon. In tennis, it's been sort of a lost year in tennis, with Carlos Alcaraz being out, dealing with a wrist injury. Then Sinner wins at the French, gets hurt after Wimbledon, so no Sinner at this year's U.S. Open as a result of this knee injury. The good news for tennis is, while there won't be any Jannik Sinner, this guy will be here. That guy, Carlos Alcaraz, will be competing in this year's event. And again, he's missed the last two majors, last two slams as a result of this wrist injury he's been dealing with. So he'll be back, and Sinner won't. So they'll obviously miss each other for the third straight tournament, I believe. We'll have to wait and see how those two sort of commingle for next year. They're good buddies. They've both been having to figure out how to deal with injuries this year. That's been the big story in tennis, is the loss of Alcaraz and Sinner. We'll see what happens out at the U.S. Open. Our buddy Patrick McEnroe will join us from there for sure. Odds and ends, the end of the ownership tenure for Mark Lohr over at the Minnesota Timberwolves. He had a big stake in the team along with Alex Rodriguez. The two of them were sort of the majority of the ownership of that franchise. Well, Lohr is giving up his interest to a guy named Mark Stad. I don't know, he's the founder of Dragoneer. That's about all I was able to find on him. I wasn't going to go and do that much research on him. It's just billionaires buying from billionaires. But congratulations to Mark Stad. A valuation of $4.5 billion he purchased it at. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Lohr and A-Rod bought it at a valuation of like $1.5 billion just a couple of years ago. It's bonkers, the valuations and the prices that you're seeing NBA teams sold at. Makes you wish you bought one. And they got to figure out the arena situation there in Minnesota. They've been at the Target Center. It's the second oldest arena, I believe, in the NBA after Madison Square Garden. But MSG has had a million upgrades to it over the years. They got to get out of Target Center and get into a new arena there in Minneapolis, and I'm sure they will at some point. But Mark Stad expected to be the new controlling interest owner. A-Rod's going to purchase more equity in the team. We'll see how it all shakes out. Bottom line, new ownership coming to Minnesota with the Timberwolves. Bryson DeChambeau in the news. Bryson DeChambeau and Liv Golf's been in the news all week. And Bryson DeChambeau wants you to give Liv Golf another chance, he says. They're playing their final event of the season out in Indianapolis. And Bryson DeChambeau is hopeful that Liv Golf is given one more shot, he says. This is they're trying to bring in this new investor who's supposed to breathe new life into this thing financially for next year. We already know the Saudi PIF decided to pull its backing following this season. And again, their season-ending event scheduled for next week in Michigan was canceled. So this week is it for Liv Golf. We'll wait and see what happens beyond this season. Now, when I hear Bryson DeChambeau talking about, hey, we need one more shot, that's not a good sign. I think it's just a matter of, when the patient is declared dead, so to speak, when it comes to Liv Golf. But we'll see if they can rebound next season. It's going to do it for us. Thank you to David Aardsma. Thank you to Matt Verderame. Thanks to Brian Twining, all of you at home for watching all week long. I'm Jason Page. That does it for Sports Wrap. We'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.